Hey Moira, this is your brother. Hey Moira, this is your brother. You're a psychopath, I'm not. I'm a legitimate college graduate, you're not. I'm a lawyer, you're not. You never even applied to law school. You screamed at me when I suggested you apply to graduate school. Now I know why. You're not a legitimate college graduate. If you applied to business school, as I had suggested, the whatever credentials that would be required for you to go to business school would be demonstrated to be false. Also, because you scammed your way probably through half your classes at Wellesley instead of actually attending them. Maury, you lived in Boston and you said you attended Wellesley for 4 years. You commuted from 2000. It is not credible that you commuted on a almost daily basis from 2001 Commonwealth Avenue, apartment 8 to Wellesley for classes while working at Filene's the last year or two you were at Wellesley. You used transcript fraud to get into Wellesley in some form of extortion and blackmail to get through Wellesley. You wrote a few papers, you attended a few classes, just enough for people to remember you. You're not a legitimate college graduate, Moira. Your fraud and your frame jobs are showing, Moira. And you're wondering why we're looking at a picture of jars. These jars demonstrate, there's circumstantial evidence in these jars that demonstrates that you and Mom were planning on falsifying evidence that I harmed Dad with poison. And then probably you're going to murder me under circumstances that make it look like a suicide. See, there's a problem here, not the least of which is my fingers. I noticed this when I play the guitar. Tim Trumbull, my suite mate, my sophomore year of college. Tim's a very nice guy. He's got a PhD in nuclear engineering, and he's now at the Department of Energy. He noticed my fingers were too short in college, and that my arms were too short. He said some things about it. He said, "Don't worry, Ed. I've seen women with tiny little hands learn how to play the guitar." He said, Another time, he said, "Don't worry, Ed. Men with short arms make great power lifters because of leverage. I'm a mechanical engineer. You should believe me." Anyways, this means my short arms and my short fingers mean that I was poisoned with arsenic in my youth. People who are poisoned with arsenic in their youth, it's the mother, especially in the 70s. She was preparing all the food. Therefore, it's not credible that I poisoned Dad with arsenic, which I believe is in these jars. And here's the thing. Here's how I know you and Mom were planning on framing me, falsifying evidence that I poisoned Dad when, in fact, you and Mom was poisoning Dad with arsenic. You're kind of stupid, Moira, and you have the mind of a child, but you're also a psychopath. So I'm going to say this in terms you'll understand from Sesame Street or Zoom. I don't remember which it is, or Electric Company. One of these things is not like, or two of these things are not like the other. Two of these things don't belong. Two of these things are not like the others. Two of these things don't belong. Do you notice anything different about these jars, Moira? Or your power? You're a retard, Moira, and so is Elias Timbelpoulos. But can you observe anything about these jars? These two caps are clean. These are not. The sell-by date on this very clean top is 2022. And I just looked it up on the internet. Pasta sauce, the sell-by date is usually about 18 months after it's put in the jar. So this jar cap was purchased during COVID, when I was doing the cooking, 18 months before 2022. September 2022. Now, and these, you notice how dirty these are? Yeah. Someone was trying to make it look like I was poisoning Dad with arsenic, because I was doing the cooking in 2022. But here's the thing. I did something you didn't expect. I left Dartmouth in late January of 2024 because you and Mom, you're a psychopath, Moira. And Mom is a malignant narcissist, right? So you're suffering from something and you're planning for your crimes. Your very complicated crimes, I might add, through lots of co-conspirators, and you go through third parties. You're what Martha Stout, PhD, calls a puppet master style psychopath. So is Eric Witherspoon, by the way. God, what a nightmare you people are. You and Mom are suffering from the false consensus bias or psychological projection, also known as Freudian projection. You think because you're delusional and you're a psychopath and you're stupid, and Mom is too, except she's a malignant narcissist, you thought that I would behave like you would. Or you had false ideas in your head about how I would behave under certain circumstances. You see, that's also a failure of a theory of mind. I don't know quite what concept in human psychology to categorize this under. It's either you and Mom have had a failure to have a correct theory of mind of me, or it's the false consensus bias, or it's psychological projection, also known as Freudian projection. You and Mom thought that I would stay by Dad's side until he died, and that therefore you could poison him with arsenic and blame it on me. Unfortunately, something happened in late January of 2024 that you two didn't expect. I had successfully gotten Dad into Care 1. And of course, if Dad died of arsenic poisoning while in Care 1, I wouldn't have been blamed. And Dad was in Care 1 from roughly sometime in late September or early October until late January of 2024. Care 1 is a nursing home in New Bedford. Right? So you and Mom had a problem. You couldn't blame me for poisoning Dad to death with arsenic because he was in somebody else's care. So for reasons you haven't explained to me yet, neither you nor Mom have told me why. You ordered Dad to come home, Mom, or had Dad brought home from Care 1 in New Bedford, the nursing home, to 30 Michon Point, Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and said, "Edward, you're taking care of him. I don't care. You will take care of your father here." I said, "I can't do that safely, Mom." And I insisted we get certified nursing assistants. She said, "No, you're taking care of him. We'll get a home health aide." I said, "Home health aide isn't good enough. They don't have any certifications. They don't know anything about healthcare. They're just glorified, they do the dishes and they cook. They keep you company." "I don't care. You're taking care of him." It was so bad. I said, "Mom, it's not safe." "I don't care. You're taking care of it." And so it was words to that effect. I said, "Mom, I'm not going to Care 1. This is so bad. I'm refusing to go to Care 1 with you to pick up Dad." "I don't care." She went and hired a home health aide. She went to Care 1. She had the home health aide drive her to Care 1 and bring Dad home. The home health aide nearly, dumped Dad had Dad do a face plant on she was so incompetent at moving patients, she almost had Dad do a face plant after tripping on the front steps of 30 Michon Point Road. After she said to me, "Oh yeah," I said, "Do you know how to move a patient?" Because I had worked as an emergency department technician. This idiot home health aide said, "Oh yeah, I know how to move a patient." I was like, "Well, it doesn't appear that because you haven't folded up." I didn't say it, but she said this to me, and she had not folded up the footrest on a wheelchair, on a transport wheelchair. When you don't fold up the footrests on a wheelchair, the patient trips and falls on their face. So this woman was demonstrably lying to me because she had not folded up the footrest on the wheelchair. She had never moved a patient before. She was a lying sack of crap. Probably a thief, too. So anyways, here's the point. I did something you people didn't expect. I left Dartmouth that night in the middle of the night because I was following a rule. See, there's a rule in healthcare. When they train you in EMT class, which I took at Northeastern EMT Basic, there's a rule. You do not exceed your scope of practice. Do not exceed your scope of practice, period. Because you're a psychopath, Moira, and you don't care about rules, because Mom's a malignant narcissist and she doesn't care about rules, you didn't consider the fact that I would adhere to the rules absolutely. I would adhere to the rules absolutely. And under the circumstances where someone is asking you to exceed your scope of practice, which you and Mom were trying to force me to do by having me take care of Dad at 30 Michon Point Road in January of 2024, under circumstances where a family member who has no healthcare certifications at the time my EMT certificate had lapsed, a person with those qualifications could not have successfully cared for Dad at 30 Michon Point Road, Dartmouth, Massachusetts. His health condition was such that he needed a skilled nursing facility. Dad absolutely needed a skilled nursing facility. And I was right. It was dangerous. I said, we can't do this. And how do we know I was right? Dad died in April. He was dead 12 weeks later. I was right and you were wrong. The fact that Dad is dead proves it. It's called wrongful death, but you're using the Italian mafia and the Greek mob and the Newton police to harass me. Including coming to my home unannounced for specious or false reasons to bang on my door so Rich Bebo can sneak into this fucking house and mess with my digital devices and probably put some sort of non-fatal poison in my coffee to make me appear crazy. Anyways, it's probably bromethylene. The tops of these jars and the date I left Dartmouth, if you think about the situation logically, the dates on the tops of these jars, the fact that 2 of them are clean and 2 of them are dirty, and the date when I fled Dartmouth in late January of 2024 demonstrate that you and Mom were planning on murdering Dad with arsenic poisoning and framing me for it. Because these jars smell like garlic. They smell like harsh garlic or halitosis, which is the smell of arsenic oxide. And the 10 Bell Poulses have been in and out of this house a lot. Well, not a lot. The 10 Bell Poulses have had occasion to dispose of this evidence. The Greek mob that lives at 11 Fairview Street, they were in this house on or about February 20, 2025. And Rich Bebo was obviously in this house on May 5th, 2026. And before I fled Dartmouth, the 10 Bell Poulses had plenty of opportunity to break into this house during the year 2023 and wash out these jars to exonerate Mom, to falsely exonerate Mom for poisoning Dad with arsenic, and they didn't do it. Why? Because they were planning on framing somebody else for the crime. That's me. But they made a mistake. They didn't count on the dust. This top probably doesn't belong in this jar. The dust proves it, and the fact that Dad was in the care, custody, and control of Mom and you when his health declined rapidly after he left Care 1 and he died. I'll say that again. Dad was okay when he came home from Care 1 and I left that night. Dad was okay when I left 30 Michon Point Road, Dartmouth, Massachusetts, in the middle of the night, sometime around January 24 or 25 of 2024. I could be off on the date. He was dead by the end of April. There was a steep decline in his health. And Mom and you were in control of his healthcare decisions. That means you and Mom murdered him. You and Mom definitely caused his death, not me. And yet there's some half-assed frame job that was going on for a long time before he died. And the tops of these jars and what's in these jars proves it. And the fact that the perpetrators of the actual crime didn't wash out whatever probably arsenic oxide's in these jars. There's probably arsenic oxide in these jars. I could be wrong. The reason they didn't wash out the jars, the Greek mob, is because they were planning on using this evidence that's evidence against Mom as evidence of my guilt. To falsely say I was guilty when I'm not guilty. By the way, no one thought about my fingers. No one thought about my fingers. No one thought about my stubby fingers, which were caused by arsenic poisoning in my youth, and the Mies lines. I had Mies lines in my nail beds when I was a child. Dad called them my lucky spots. You people are the most incompetent bunch of fucking losers I'm not going to say that. That's histrionic to say it that way. You people are an extremely incompetent bunch of fucking losers. And the only reason these crimes are being covered up is George Forster Colony. You were fucking George Forster Colony. He's covering up a lot of it for you. Eric Witherspoon is probably covering up a lot of it with whatever position he may or may not hold, or his wife may or may not hold in the intelligence community. And the Newton police are incredibly fucking corrupt. The Newton police do whatever the Italian mafia wants. They'll murder anybody, cover up any murder, intimidate anyone on behalf of the Italian mafia. Newton is a madhouse. It's a lawless